This chapter really brought the noise and gave a lot of people certain something they really wanted to see for quite a while now. Although I also do have to say I love the fact that Usopp tries to pretend like he has Conquerors hockey, and that's why a lot of the Beast Pirates are being knocked out, but it's actually Big Mom's Conquerors hockey going off. Hell, he even tries to take credit for the defeat of both Ulti and Page 1. So I have to wonder if that's foreshadowing of Usopp actually gaining Conquerors hockey. That would be amazing. But whereas he's bluffing up a storm, we see that Speed, Tama, and Nami are hiding out as Nami tries to get in contact with Frankie, who's hanging out with the Heart Pirates. And they're both trying to figure out where Momonosuke actually is, hoping that he's with Shinobu, but they can't get in contact with Shinobu for some reason. But Frankie has teamed up with the Heart Pirates to keep any Beast Pirates away from the performance floor so they don't interfere with Sanji and Zoro's fight against King and Queen. So some solid support going on here. Keep the fodder at bay. So you see Frankie, Penguin, Sachi, and Beppo just throwing down. I wish we got to see a little bit more of Penguin and Sachi really fighting, but we'll probably see a little bit more of that in the anime. And I love how Beppo's just like telling Frankie not to order him around. We're supposed to be equals in this alliance. Meanwhile, fires are just breaking out all over Onigashima. Between the fire that Orochi started and the fire that Black Maria started, it's getting insane as we see Brooke carrying Robin, who just expended all of her energy out of the fire and flames, as he meets up with the minx from Zoe. So that's who he's with. So we almost have two Straw Hats to almost a team pretty much. And then we see Brooke contacting Jinbei and letting him know about the fire that's really starting to rise up. We see that Jinbei is around where the Kid Pirates are. And we actually get to see a few members of the Kid Pirates that I don't think we've ever seen before. Like one really big guy who's big and beefy, and one member who almost looks like a little girl with like razor sharp teeth and high heels. It's kind of wild. Expect Oda to give them names within about a couple of months or so, and we get to see that Kawamatsu is pushing back Beast Pirates along with the various Yakuza bosses outside the performance floor. So they are giving Zoro and Sanji as much space as possible. There will be no interference with this climactic battle. But Jinbei does ask the $1,000,000 question. Who's holding back Kaido? And that's when you cut to the real meat and potatoes of this chapter. And that's Yamato's throwdown with Kaido. And Yamato is putting up an amazing fight. Like, Yamato is really going in hard on this fight. But it's kind of obvious they're just not going to be able to really do much against Kaido for too long. As this fight rages on, Kaido doesn't look like he's had any new blood drawn on him whatsoever, whereas Yamato is getting knocked around every once in a while, is starting to bleed here and there, is wheezing and huffing up a storm. And at one point, Yamato stops and actually questions Kaido on the fact that he seems to have always intended to kill them at some point. But Kaido simply says, well, if you want to be Odin, then you should be prepared for death. If this is the path you want to take, you need to be ready to die. And Yamato takes offense to the fact that Kaido seems to be mad that they admire Odin so much. And we finally get that Yamato backstory on how they were raised up until this point. And we see that in the past, Yamato was known as the Ogre Princess and had a tendency to just go rampaging throughout Onigashima. And even when they were young, they had Conquerors hockey, as we see various beast pirates just laid out foaming at the mouth, which is pretty par for the course. Like, Yamato is, in this flashback, looks to be around the same age as Katakuri when he started to awaken some of his greater powers and all of that. So, I mean, it's the child of a Yonko, of course, they're also going to be fairly strong. Them strong genetics. But it's not just that. Yonko families very much tend to be very harsh. And it's that harsh environment that these kids grow up in that I feel also kind of forges that iron will. Although, to a certain degree, I am surprised that Yamato does have Conquerors Haki, mostly just because Yamato seemed to be very subservient to the followings of Odin. And so I thought maybe that might be something that holds them back from having that ability. But no, Yamato officially has all three forms of Haki: Conquerors, Armament, Observation, the whole shebang. That's quite a great deal of power. But I really do feel bad for Yamato, as we see that they were constantly chained to something, whether it was a Torii gate or after Yamato went rampaging and demanding food and all this, Kaido was just like, you want to call yourself Odin? Then you could just die, pretty much. I don't think he completely meant that, but maybe he did. It's hard to tell with the guy. As he throws Yamato in this cave that he normally puts prisoners in, fairly strong prisoners. And even the Beast Spiders are just like, you want to put this kid in here for a month? The kid probably will die. Not to mention we have a lot of really strong samurai locked in here. And we get to see one of Kaido's tactics as he tells three of these really powerful seeming samurai locked within here, like, if you want to join my ranks, feel free. I'll let you go quick as a whip. And when they ask for food, he puts one tray of food for one person in the cell and a whole bunch of weapons. It's just like, you can fight to the death for it. And Yamato starts freaking out because it's just like, I'm the child of Kaido. They're going to probably kill me if that's the case. And Odin just, that's really the difference. Odin wouldn't give a shit about a situation like this. He beat those samurai's ass, or at least tried to, and just go about his business. Yamato, not so much. Yamato's freaking the fuck out. And especially when Kaido's just like, but you're Odin, aren't you? But Yamato understands. It's just like, while they do have delusions of wanting to be like Odin, also understands I'm the son of Kaido, the man who killed Odin. These samurai probably will hate me, and before they fight to the death over this meal, they'll probably kill me first. And I gotta say, it speaks volumes of the honor of these samurai as they take the blades, sheath them, and hand the tray to Yamato, simply saying a samurai does not feel hunger, which is so obvious that's not true. They're probably hungry as a motherfucker, but they're honorable enough not to have a child starve. Yamato's, is so little, just can't hide their hunger. And one of them's just like, well, then eat up. I love the pity they take on Yamato. It's just like, you ended up in one hell of a family. It's just like, after seeing what Kaido would do to their own child, I would kind of take pity on them too, because it's just like, real talk. To see Yamato just be thrown into a cell after being beaten up by their father, it's just like, you could stay in here for a month. It's just like, man, fuck that guy. Good on the samurai for recognizing this. And Yamato even asks if they could potentially be a samurai even though they're hungry. And one of these guys goes up and cuts Yamato's chains, so that's the reason why Yamato's bonds were broken. But, Yamato was never fully able to just completely escape, since they were also explosive handcuffs as well. Like, Kaido wasn't playing the fuck around. It's like, you chained Yamato down, but also had explosive handcuffs if Yamato escaped. It's just like, that's really fucked. And I love how one of the samurai who, I'm sorry, it so obviously looks like one of the Kozuki clan members. I mean, Shimotsuki clan members. Like, this very much seems like one of the these are three of the daimyo of Wano, or at the very least a random Shimotsuki member, but it very much feels like it would be Shimotsuki Ushimaru. And since Ushimaru was the daimyo of the Ringo region, Oden ruled over Kuri, and Yasue ruled over Hakumai, then the other two people locked in here are definitely the daimyos of the Kibi and the Udon region, or at least the former daimyos. So that accounts for the last few daimyos we never really got to see. Apparently they were still alive for a hot minute. We knew that Oden got killed off. We knew that Yasue ended up simply kind of going into hiding for a hot minute. But apparently the rest of the daimyo were locked up, and Kaido tried to break their spirits, but their spirits as samurai never failed. You know, these guys even say to Yamato that they were friends of Oden. And so I think they kind of bonded with the fact that Yamato was willing to just speak out and say that I love Oden, I believe in Oden, all that good stuff. They probably connected to a certain degree to that. That even the child of Kaido could see what a monster he was and what a blessing Oden was. But none of the samurai want to really reveal their name. Even the one that feels very obvious like Ushimaru just simply calls himself a so-and-so. But then Yamato reveals Oden's travelogue, his journal that they had had for a while, but Yamato at that age was a little too young to be able to fully read it. So the daimyos actually ended up reading it to Yamato. But after 10 days within the cave, they start to kind of realize that Kaido might actually be trying to kill his freaking child. Like this child is going to starve. A little kid has a fast metabolism. They are not going to be able to go this long without food and water. It's a miracle the kid has survived up till now. And even the daimyos say that we might not even be able to see the battle 20 years from now. So this was all when Yamato was 8 years old, not long after the murder of Oden. But despite the situation that Yamato was in, Yamato said, I'd fight on the side of Wano, I'll go to sea, I'll get much stronger. Unfortunately, that seems to have never happened. In 20 years of their life, they never actually got to go beyond Onigashima. And who knows how long Yamato was actually able to be free around Wano when they were younger than that. But the daimyo ultimately decide that they don't want to see Yamato die in this cave. And if Yamato wants to be someone who will fight on the side of Wano, then they'll make sure that Yamato does not die here. That Yamato will be able to fight in this battle 20 years from now. So they bust through the cave with the swords that they have very easily. I also love that even more of a hint towards one of these guys being Shimotsuki Ushimaru is he has the crest of the Shimotsuki family right on his back. Like straight up, it's right there on his back. So it's just like, yeah, no, this is definitely a Shimotsuki clan member. And Yamato tries to stop him, saying that, you know, he'll probably kill you if you do this. And they're just like, look, we were going to waste away in here regardless. We were never going to bend the knee to Kaido. So rather than just wasting away in here, we'll do our best to make as much damage as we can. And it's fairly apparent they went down in a blaze of glory. And honestly, a lot of this gives a little bit of clarity to what Yamato was doing when we first saw them in the anime, where they were just breaking rocks around the sacred cave, because it's just like, oh, they were probably training themselves up in order to be strong enough to fight when the time came. And Yamato, coming back from this flashback, questions the fact that, while there were people out there who were willing to accept them for the way that they were, Kaido was not. All Kaido ever did was steal their freedom, Yamato's freedom, the freedom of the people of Wano. And Yamato questions why Kaido did all of this. What was the point? But Kaido goes on to say that it's not as simple as that. There's no one catch-all answer to everything that he's done. And to think so is the naivety of a child. as they clash with Conquerors hockey coming off of both of their clubs, both delivering a Thunder Bagua. Like, seriously, damn, that's a hell of a clash. I loved it. Loved it. I can't wait to see this stuff animated because, man, both of them in their hybrid forms going at it really hard. Again, it's very obvious that Yamato is not going to be able to take down Kaido. But once Momonosuke and Luffy arrive, that's a more even fight. Like, seriously, that's the funny thing. So many people say it's just like, oh, Big Mom isn't as strong as Kaido. I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to say because we've never fully seen them lose. Like, they get knocked back from time to time, but lose? And even if Big Mom is taken down by Kid and Law, that's still two people who are as close as to Luffy as you can really get without overtaking him. That's what Oda has been kind of building towards. That Kid and Law are as close to being on Luffy's level as you can get without actually being on Luffy's level. As it has been revealed that Kid has all three forms of hockey, and Law just doesn't have Conquerors hockey, but I could easily see him unlocking that at some point. Because, at this point, we're getting into the real heavy hitters. And if you don't have at least all of those forms of hockey, you're getting left in the dust at this point. Because if you even look at the people who have all three forms of hockey, they are the heaviest of hitters in the One Piece universe. We're talking Shanks, Rayleigh, Hancock, Luffy, Katakuri, Son Goku, Doflamingo. Don Chin-Jiao is there, but Don Chin-Jiao used to throw down with Garp on the regular, who was the rival of Gold Roger. You have Lin, you have Kaido, you have Zoro, Kid, Yamato, Whitebeard, Roger, Odin. Like, the only person who didn't have all three forms of hockey while still having Conqueror's hockey was Ace. And that's just because he didn't have observation hockey. And let's be real, if he did, he probably would have seen that punch from Akainu coming. So, the fact that he doesn't have observation hockey really does track. And it goes to show, just because you have the color of the Supreme King and all that stuff doesn't mean your ass can't be taken out. I mean, hell, Odin got killed, Whitebeard got killed. Like, it's not the insta-win that people love to make it seem like. It just means that you have a lot of strength of will within you. But yeah, very solid chapter. We finally got that Yamato backstory and stuff. Still waiting on that Kaido one though, because it feels like we're going to get that at some point during this. Me personally, I feel that we still got about 30 chapters left to go. A lot of people seem to want Wano to start wrapping up, but I'm of the opinion that we had the Wano arc and we're in the Onigashima arc. And I think that we started with the Onigashima arc around 975 and we're almost at 1025. So it's my belief that with 30 more chapters, that'll be about 80 chapters in total, which is around when Oda usually tries to make most of his arcs. He usually goes for either between 60 to 80. And I can't see this ending within the next 10 chapters. So I'm saying we got about 30, a little over 30 solid chapters before we reach the conclusion, which is more than enough to wrap up, King and Queen versus Zoro and Sanji, Raizo versus Fukurokuju, Nekamamushi versus Sparrow, Inuarashi versus Jack, probably Luffy, Momo, and Yamato versus Kaido, Kid and Law versus Big Mom, Killer and Hawkins, and whatever situation Denjiro is about to get in. And I feel like the majority of those fights we'll have like one chapter dedicated to each of them, except for the fights between that Kaido is fighting in and Big Mom is fighting in. And going by what I think, we might have about 3 to 5 chapters for Big Mom and 3 to 5 chapters to wrap up Kaido, with little under 10 chapters to wrap up the rest of Wano. So I could easily see us just being in the final stretch of Wano with 30 more chapters. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. How did you feel about this chapter? Where do you think we'll be within the next few chapters? Do you think my theory that we got about 30 chapters, a little bit over that, before we reach the conclusion of Wano and we move on to the final story arc? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.